What's happening, guys? It's Sir William, and today I'm with 𝐶 of all terrains, and we're going to be taking a look at his 40th anniversary 80 series Land Cruiser, Large Marge, the Party Barge. So take us through Large Marge, the Party Barge. Tell us all about her.
Okay, so this is a 1997 Toyota Land Cruiser. It's the last solid axle Toyota produced in the sold to the United States. This particular one is actually a 40th anniversary, which is a selected run within the 97 model year. This is a 615, which is pretty cool because I grew up in Nashville, 615 till I die. So I picked it up from this gentleman that bought it new in 1997. His parents did. Turns out they actually built the home that my sister and her husband are raising their family in. So it's a weird small world situation. But I got it from him about a year ago. And then just started kind of scrounging for parts and doing some wheeling and dealing and horse trading to get a good deal on the parts I needed. The wheels are off of an FJ Cruiser, which I picked up off of Facebook Marketplace for I think about $300, $275 for 5 of them. The tires are 𝐼𝐴 𝐼𝐴, again, Facebook Marketplace, local dealership, sold them to a customer. Customer thought they were a little too loud for their JK, cheap people. And so I picked them up for $550 for some 33s, which is a fantastic deal. I've never had Falcons, but I'm looking forward to really putting them through their paces.
They say they're good tires.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of the skinny pedal. And you need to whomp on the gas with one of these. They are not fast. They are heavy, they are reliable, they are spacious. This particular one, when I bought it, like I said, I got it for a very inexpensive price.
How much did you pay for the whole thing?
I paid $1,000. Pro tip, when you go to buy a vehicle, okay, show up in the junkiest car you got, and then you can lowball. You show up in something that's got a nice sheen to it, they're gonna be like, no, full price. Blue book, baby, blue book. Yeah, I showed up in my Cellulite, which is a Toyota 𝐶𝐿𝐴 covered in hail damage, so it's appropriate.
So now when you got Large Marge, was she running?
She did run, but it was quite, it had a little bit of a rattle. The previous owner's son was driving it and overheated it because of a bad radiator. So initially I just thought it had a bad radiator and was hoping for a rod knock. When I took the bottom end apart, I did end up finding that it wasn't the rod bearings. It ended up being piston slap. So that's where when the piston is going up and down, it's kind of rocking inside the cylinder. So I was hearing the piston slap, slap, slap.
The skirts on the side.
The skirts, yeah. That's not normal. So I ended up getting another engine from another friend who is also a Land Cruiser enthusiast that just had this thing sitting around. And I did some work on this. I put some sexy turd red on here, you know, go fast. The TRD red color.
I don't think it helped. I rode with you here.
No, she is a bit sluggish.
I mean, we were talking about a tractor engine.
Yes, this is
essentially
it's a very reliable engine. There's actually companies now making turbos for them to make them go a little faster, but they get like 12 miles to the gallon. So that's the only thing is if you're going to overland, you should just stay local or where gas is affordable. I did red clay rally with this thing immediately after putting the engine in, like no testing. None. And my gas tank was actually leaking. I could only run half a tank. I would later weld that up. Not on the run. I could just only go half a tank. And at 12 miles to the gallon, we were stopping it, doing a lot of fuel stops. 600 miles.
Wait. I want to back up just 1 second. You welded the gas tank?
Yeah, it's actually not as hard as you would think. Pretty much, I think anything that you do, you just have to be methodical and think it through. So yes, I did weld my gas tank. But the reason I did it was because gas tanks for these are expensive, because everything for these is expensive.
Sure, it's a Land Cruiser.
I watched some videos online, actually an Australian YouTube channel. They showed me how to weld a gas tank. So I took all the guts out of it. I filled it up with some water until it was overflowing. Got it, you know, pretty clean. All the fuel was out of it. I felt safe. Then I hooked up a hose, again, to the Cellulite, strikes again, and I used its exhaust to evacuate any kind of gas fumes that might still be in the tank. Then, from a safe distance, in the middle of my gravel driveway, I set the tank. I put a piece of gravel inside of a napkin, I lit the napkin on fire, and I lobbed it into the tank after, you know, flushing it and everything, with my face away from it, you know, and my hands and all that. And it didn't go foomf. So I figured I got at least 30 seconds, you know? So I immediately got the welder to it, and it was just a little crack at the top. That's one of the flaws that these have. It's a common thing. I think it's just from pressurization building up in the tank. something with.
But nonetheless, you welded the gas tank.
But I welded it, and it's been like that for maybe 5,000 or 10,000 miles. Yeah, but I fill it up with gas now.
The engine is, for the most part, the engine is stock. Now, obviously, this has got an aftermarket front bumper on there. This is something that came with it, or?
No. When I got it, it had, it was pure 1990s awesome sauce. It had a brush guard on the front. It had taillight guards that were screwed into the plastic taillights, so they were real stout. And I took all that off immediately. Actually, I broke this marker light taking off the stupid brush guard, which brush guards are dumb. You end up, they hang down way down here, you hit something, and then it smashes the fender, whereas you would have just driven over it. So I'm anti-brush guard. That's for the mall. So I picked up this bumper from a friend. Again, everything I've done on this has been kind of some wheeling, dealing, horse trading. I got this bumper for $300 with the winch. It's an old school TJM bumper. This is a company out of Australia. Back in the day, before overlanding was even a word, it was ARB and TJM. So TJM, this is called a T17. There's also a T15 that's got tubes and stuff, and more of a cattle pusher bumper. It's got slots in it for the high lift jack, which is pretty cool. But it doesn't take a hit very well, as you can see. I did Trail 16 at Windrock in this. I have no locking differentials at all, but I did Trail 16. It was dry, no winching.
That's a pretty stout trail.
It's pretty gnarly. I was the only open diff guy to not winch that day. I got the snorkel from a different fraternity brother. All of my fraternity brothers have gone from Jeeps and everything into these 80 series Land Cruisers because they need a family ride. And then these things are, you know, nice and comfy inside and just space for the kiddos and all their accessories. So actually, this is a Chinese knockoff of a Safari snorkel, which I don't have any skin in the game, so I don't care. I got the CVT awning. Again, bartering some work. I wired up some off-road lights for a gentleman with a Tacoma, and he was taking this off of his truck. He was done with it. And that was really the only body damage, but I've since, on that red clay rally, I got into a tree a little bit because earlier we referred to a time that it was entirely covered with mud. Yeah, so I had mud tinted windows, and I was just tunnel vision, you know. I got a little close to a tree.
Little close.
Little close, but again,
hey man, it's part of the game.
It's a good time party barge.
And again, it's a $1,000 vehicle.
Currently, right now where I'm at, with wheels, tires, everything, I would say $3,000 is probably a safe estimate with registration, tires, rebuilding the front axle, you know, fluid changes and things of that nature.
Solid. Now, how many miles are on the entire thing? I mean, I know that you rebuilt the engine and all, but
I believe it's 268,000 or something like that.
Crazy. I've never seen one of these with less than 200,000 miles.
Yeah. They
and even the 100 series that you have at Gladstone has got 215,000.
The next iteration of this, a 98, 99 model, it's got 210,000. So
that's crazy. Now, what kind of suspension do you have?
Combination of things. I've got old man emu springs that were rusty when I got them, but I had a connection through my employer at the time with a sandblaster. So I got them sandblasted and went to a local guy and got them powder coated. They actually matched the wheels. I did the same thing with the shocks. The shocks are actually Pro Comps, which it was like $176, I think, shipped to my door for 4 shocks. The problem is they're white, you know, and that kind of sticks out. So I just gave him the rattle can paint job, the same that I gave to the wheels. So everything's all matchy-matchy, you know, and looks cool, but on a budget, you know. What do they call it? Balling on a budget?
Balling on a budget.
Yeah, they aren't expensive pants, but if you press them real nice, you look classy.
Yeah. You've rattle canned the FJ wheels, right? And these are just standard FJ Steely wheels.
Yeah, these are just FJ Cruiser Steelies, 17s.
I must say, though, they look good.
Yeah, the only thing that, the only downfall with using those as opposed to the factory Land Cruiser wheels is the 80 series, I believe from like 94 to 97, is the only US sold or domestic Toyota that has a full float rear axle. So those of you that may not know anything about trucks and axles or whatever, so a full float axle means very similar to the front. So these bolts here are actually securing, this is the axle shaft that you see sticking out. Whereas a semi-float axle, so like on the next iteration, the 100 series, it's flat. And it's like more of a flange style mount. So what
like
that
mine
means,
on the 4Runner.
Like a 4Runner. So every 4Runner ever. is what's called semi-float. So what semi-float does is the axle shaft is having to bear the weight of the vehicle and also the torque that's being applied to it by the tires, you know, via the engine. So with a full float axle, all the axle shaft is having to do is propel the vehicle, turn the tires. Whereas there's the bearings, there's a spindle in here with bearings on it that's actually carrying the load. So this is very similar to what you would see on the back of a 3/4 ton or 1 ton truck.
Stronger system.
Stronger system. So it's exactly like how the front is. So the problem is, I guess long story short, is these wheels have a stamped steel Toyota center cap.
Yep.
And you can't run those because of the hub sticking out, both on the front and the rear. So I'm just not running them.
Oh.
Like I didn't have to modify the wheels, they just fit. Every Toyota is hub-centric and lug-centric. So what that means is the wheel centers itself on the hub and also on the lug nuts.
Gotcha.
With factory Toyota wheels, that is. But in order to run, if I was gonna run those center caps, you know, that say Toyota to be, you know, Toyota fanboy.
To be proper.
I'd have to run like an 1.5-inch wheel spacer. So that's why I switched to 33s, cut to old B-roll footage with 35-inch retread tires that I got for 150 bucks. Those are for sale, call me. But I switched to 33s because it's only got a 2-inch lift, and in order to clear the fender wells with the spacer, I had to go to a smaller tire.
Gotcha. That's a lot, man.
Yeah, swallow all that. Another suspension mod I did, I completely removed the front sway bar. My reasoning behind that is the front suspension on these uses like the radius arm style. And they both stay pretty relative to one another due to the suspension design. So there's really no need for a sway bar. You learn pretty quick.
Yeah, because I mean, you can take the sway bar off and you can still ride.
Yeah.
Now, the handling characteristics are a little bit different. You're not going to be able to do 90 through the mountains or something.
Well, you can. These have a rear sway bar as well, which soaks up a lot of the roll. But yeah, I mean, it's still, you know, it's a little floppy, but I think it adds to the pristine ride quality that she possesses. You know, it's really churches it up.
So, Jake of all terrains.
Hey, that's me! Yeah, I do metal fabrication with a lot of energy. But this is a tube bumper that I'm in the process of building. It's a little rusty right now because I haven't put any paint on it. But what I have incorporated in it is a rather lot of dimple dies on the sides and the bottom. And then down here, they're all across the bottom to allow this plate to drain a little bit. The bumper consists of 1/4 inch, 3/16, 1/8 inch plate, and quite a few bolts. So the factory trailer hitch on these uses 3 bolts on either side, so a total of 6. This bumper is held in by a total of 12 bolts. So I used all of the factory holes, and some of them I had to drill out a little bigger, but then I made a plate with weld nuts on it that actually slides into the frame rail so you can bolt it up, and it all uses metric hardware just like from the factory.
Sweet. So it's stronger than the factory.
Yeah, it's definitely, it'll take a hit for sure. It's not quite done. I'll end up doing maybe some quarter panel protection with a swing out tire carrier and ladder. I have a lot of long-term plans for this, to do a platform maybe with a hammock stand on the roof, because you haven't seen that yet. So I'm gonna give that a go. You know, it doesn't matter where you are, you got a room with a view.
That's pretty cool. So instead of a rooftop tent, we got a rooftop hammock.
Rooftop hammock. I'm a hammock lifestyler. I'm the guy wearing sandals on January 7th, 6th.
Safety shoes.
Safety shoes. I got my safety shoes on.
Let's not even mention the fact that he's got on a country western, pearl snap shirt with blue undershirt and overalls with the Toyota hat.
Hey man.
But luckily, you know, his sense of style is unique, and it shows right here with, you know, with this awesome bumper. So this is the style bumper that I really like, and this is probably what I'm going to end up doing to Apple, is something like this. I really like the dimple dies. Now, we had talked last time about dimple dies, and kind of, you know, the misconception in the fabrication world, so to speak, is the fact that you have to use this really thick metal, and a lot of times the reason is because it's easier to weld. You can jack up the machine and all that, but you're actually saying in order to save weight, you can actually use thinner metal.
Dimple dies, I mean, we live on the eastern coast here where we have rust, and in this area, everybody's all about 1/4-inch plate, or, you know, that used to be the thought process, that everything is bigger, beefier, stronger. Well, out west, where they desert race, everything is lightweight. That's where I learned about dimple dies. They use them in race cars and things like that. So the easiest way, I guess, to kick off explaining a dimple die is similar to a beer can or soda can. Now, the material on the bottom of the can is the same as the material on the sides, but the shape, the contour of the bottom adds a lot more strength
and rigidity.
So even when you crush a can, you'll see the bottom is still exactly the same. So that's why I've incorporated dimple dies, for strength and lightweight.
Now, the other added benefit of being dimple dyed right here is the fact that the mud and sand and dirt just kind of rolls right out, right?
Yeah, and you can get a hose in there. So dimple dies, the way that they work is you have to use a hole saw, or you can have it cut by a plasma cutter or whatever, if you can, you know, get a shop to do that work for you. But I've got several tools, I guess tool or die, what you would call it, but you put it in a press after drilling the hole and stamp it, and it contours the hole. So what I've done on the bottom is they actually go down so that it encourages mud and debris to fall out. I've actually cut the factory cross member out of here, as well as taken the factory trailer hitch off, and the factory spare tire mount underneath, because once you get to a certain size tire, there's not really real estate underneath it anymore, which is why you end up seeing a lot of tire carriers on the back. So you can get the tire out from inside the vehicle or under the vehicle for more clearance, whatever you need. Yeah, so I've cut about maybe 3 inches off the end of the frame and removed a cross member. Factory, these things have just plastic corners. So, you know, a person can make maybe just bumperettes or something to keep their costs down. But yeah, I mean, there's something cool about having a welder and a grinder and just doing it yourself. Like, I don't know, I guess I kind of want to give a PSA out to the folks out there that are overlanding. Like, that's cool and all, like I want you to go out and see something, but there's a certain responsibility that you have to take care of your own junk. And if you don't know how to work on your vehicle and you're out in BFE, like, and you don't know diddly about diddly, frankly, you got no business out there, man. You don't.
Maybe not get out there with a welder and a grinder and build your own bumpers,
Yeah.
but you should at least have some basic mechanic skills. Otherwise, it can turn into a safety issue pretty quickly.
I would urge you to, you know, in your off time, watch how-to YouTube videos on fixing your truck.
Simple stuff, yeah.
Just because that's the difference between spending the night in a mud hole in the middle of the desert,
or on a mountain,
3 days,
2 days,
yeah, for
in the
somebody
snow.
to come, yeah. You know,
yeah, you can without the general basic knowledge, you can really put yourself in a bad predicament. Take us through the back here, because I know you've got some super duper overlandy stuff.
Yeah. Well, spoiler alert, it's not that cool in here. It's actually really dirty. Let's come on in. The wild is fine.
Overland AF. Look at all of that.
Listen, I don't have a fridge. I don't have a fridge, but I got paracord out the yin yang.
Yeah, man.
So what I've done here is this is just, let me get a little closer. This is just an industrial shelf like you would see in a commercial kitchen or something like that. I actually, again, got it free from a friend. I think it was floating around in the bed of her truck, and I was like, what are you doing with those? And she was like, nothing. You want them? Yes. So I just lashed them to the granny straps using a bunch of paracord. So
Nice.
Long term, I'll probably create more of a robust shelf, but right now, you know, balling on a budget.
Yeah, well, and you know, here's the thing.
Like,
is it really stupid if it works?
Yeah, I mean, it's an attic, and I can hang some gear from here. I got
so what's the helmet for?
Look how I dress. It's for my safety.
It's because you like to party, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you know, sometimes you have a few too many road sodies and you need a helmet. My long-term plan with this is, like I said, I'm gonna build a roof rack with a hammock system built up into it. I wanna do a drawer system in the back of here. I'm gonna make all this stuff myself. But yeah, drawer system that works when the seats are in. Then my intentions are to take the seats out and build another platform section in front of that. Possibly even taking the passenger seat out, because most of the time it's just me and my dog Asker going for a ride. So my thought was I could take platform all the way up to the front like another segment, so I can swap it in and out depending on the necessities. And then just have it where her dog bed or something's up there.
That's awesome. Well,
I am a cunny hair shy of 6 foot tall, so every bit of real estate is good. And if I had that, you know, additional 2-3 feet up there where the passenger seat is, it'd be a game changer.
Yeah, well, this is awesome, man. And, you know, I like what you've done so far with it. I look forward to seeing what you got to do with it. Again, you do all sorts of metal fabrication, and I'd really like to show these guys kind of some of your work. So let's do this. Let's pack up. Let's get Asker. Let's go to Gladstone.
Come on, Asker, let's go for a ride. Good girl.
Hey, you know what I was just thinking about?
What's that?
Is how incredibly pissed off like 80 series, like diehard 80 series people are gonna be as soon as I show them this video right here.
Of how dirty the interior is?
Of how dirty the fucking inside is.
Listen, man, it's got 2-tone seats from the factory, but right now they're about 3-tone because they're covered in...
I would say they're only like 1-tone, and that is like red clay mud.
Yeah, they've got definitely the back row seats, the dog definitely, that's the dog.
Your truck is the perfect before picture of any detail shop. Other than the mud modification, have you done any interior mods yet? In the attic, of course.
Well, I'd just like to start by saying this mess is a place, okay? I put this fancy steering wheel cover on it because the previous owner was doing the 𝐼𝐴 noon grip, you know? What else? And I took the carpet out and got some floor mats for like $10 for 6 of them from the pull-apart.
Yeah, you don't really need carpet.
But it has created a little bit more of a heat situation on the passenger side. You could probably fry an egg over there in the floor pan. I'd like to find like a vinyl mat. I've kept the carpet. I thought about doing like a rubberized coating on the carpet. Like if there was some way I could like just go right over the carpet and then make that a vinyl liner. Just some way to keep the stank out of it, you know?
I have to ask, what is it about the damn banana?
Don't you have a banana on your windshield wiper?
No, I definitely don't have a banana on the windshield wiper.
I guess to further explain the banana, earlier we discussed the Red Clay Rally was my break-in period for Large Marge, the party barge. My team in the rally, we were trying to come up with a name, and I was actually driving across country delivering a Land Cruiser that I sold to somebody, and my wheel bearing on my trailer went bad. Well, I used a banana to fill the wheel bearing like as grease for maybe like another 15 miles so I could get to the next exit where I could get to a Tractor Supply and get supplies to rebuild the axle in the parking lot. And I sent a picture to my team with the banana in the shot saying, you know, banana for scale. And at the time, secondary to me talking about that, they were saying, what is our team name gonna be? So somebody's like, whoa, is that our team name? So our team name became Banana for Scale. So all throughout the rally, it worked out like it's just a joke. It was one of those, we ultimately lost, okay? But the whole goal was just to have fun. So while we were spotting one another, we were using bananas for scale. So a banana, we essentially said, was like a foot, just to make it easy. So be like, hey, yeah, come forward 3 bananas, and over to the driver's side about 2 bananas. And then for miles, well, they were nanners, because, you know, that's logical. So, you know, it's like, hey, up here in 1.5 miles, or 1.5 nanners, we're gonna hang a Leroy. Roger that. Wait, oh, and we didn't have the bananas, but my teammate Lila Walker, she supplied us all with bananas from like Pier 1 or something like that. It's a fake banana, but there was a period where the moldy black spots on it were perfect to where people really think it is a real banana. If anything, it's a hell of a conversation starter. Like this outfit.
This is Gladstone. An apple. There's apple.
Hey, Apple.
There's Cellulite.
There's a Cellulite, a bunch of cruisers.
Yeah, man.
The Toyota.
So this is Gladstone. As you can see, Jake has got a bunch of projects going on. We got Large Marge over there. You got some Land Rovers. And then over here, you have a collection of not only the Cellulite, but also a collection of FJs. One of which is, well, a bit under the weather. Or under the earth.
Under the earth, under the weather.
Yeah. So take us through Gladstone here. You do all sorts of work here.
Yeah.
Mainly fabrication, though.
Mainly fabrication. I end up turning some spanners every now and then, even though that isn't my love. Or I should say not my passion. It's a thing that I'm fully capable of doing. So I end up doing that more often than not. But yeah, so I'm on an acre here in the woods in South Knoxville, right on the city-county line. It's pretty great. And I just kind of operate a shop out of the garage next to my place.
Well, take us through, man. Let's see what you're working on.
I got some.
Wow. So wait a minute. This old thing here, FJ40?
Yeah, this is a 1972 FJ40. It's got, unfortunately, a Chevy V8 in it. So the work I'm doing on this is a complete rewire of all the basic functions of the vehicle, lights and engine, you know.
Just
wiring.
making it kind of all
Just
jive
making it
together.
jive again.
And over here we've got, looks like 100 series that we're building some bumpers here. Well, you're putting some bumpers on,
Yeah,
but
I've got some bumpers on it. Please don't judge the 𝐼𝙗𝐿𝐴𝐴 wheels. It's a 99 model. They used to be cool.
yeah, so this is a brand new buy for this customer here, and he's going to be just totally redoing those wheels and everything. But he's
Yeah.
got some new bumpers.
So right now I'm doing what is referred to as baselining, which is a loser term for just doing preventative maintenance.
The stuff that you should do
The
anyway.
stuff that you should just do anyway. So what I'm doing right now is a timing, water pump, coolant flush, transmission, fluid change. I tightened up all the wheel bearings, repacked with grease, new brakes, checking the transmission fluid or the transfer case fluid, rear axle, all that stuff.
Over here we have the coin-operated crawler. Take me through the coin-operated crawler, other than the fact that it's being used as a shelf right now.
It's kind of a shelf because this is basically a culmination of my ADHD. I'm really passionate about it, but usually there's something more fun to do than hang out and work on this all by myself. So I like to go be more of a social butterfly. When I initially started this build in 2007, all my friends and college mates were into this, so we'd hang out in the shop. That was our outlet. Now it's now they make babies.
Yeah.
So I don't have babies, I just have this baby. So this is a 1993 Toyota pickup. It started life as a red truck. It's now a mixture of OD green with like some red doors. But it has an XO cage. It has 4-link suspension, which I built. It has full hydraulic steering. The axles are a slew of manufacturers' parts. The front axle is a Dodge axle out of like a 1980 truck with steering knuckles off of a Ford, so it's got Ford brakes. The rear axle is out of I think an E350 van back in the day. It's a Dana 70U, so it's like the bottom of it is smooth as a baby's butt, as opposed to normally they have a big lip. It has 40-inch tires, 17-inch beadlocks. This is started life as just a steel wheel, and I got these kits from a company called 𝐷IY4Buy, and you just weld them on. I had, again, the same guy that did the powder coating for me on the Land Cruiser suspension did these wheels for me.
Full XO cage, and you built the XO cage.
I did not. I want to give credit where credit's due. I did not build this solely. I did help with some of the design, but ultimately a lot of this work was done by 𝐵𝐿𝐴 of Busted Knuckle Off-Road, located in, I think it's Cullman, Alabama, or whatever. He now builds rock bouncer chassis, which is like drag racing up the side of a mountain, essentially. Basically, there's a lot of this is stuff that I built, but then some of it incorporates kit items that you can buy online. You can buy these little brackets and stuff that you kind of weld together yourself that are already cut out. All this was already cut out and I just had to weld it. But the cool thing about this is it duplicates 97, well, excuse me, I guess we'll call it 1980s Cherokee and 90s Jeep TJ front suspension. So these are Jeep coil springs. This is just the longest Rancho shock you can buy. My current project right now with this, that's been kind of long-term back burner because I got a corporate job and couldn't bring myself to do more work after I got home, is swapping in a Tacoma engine because it's relatively the same displacement and size, but due to technological improvements, it's more fuel efficient and has more power, baby. I am colorblind. That is my plight. So I don't like to do wiring.
There's probably somebody going colorblind. What the hell does that have to do with it?
Like,
well, it's a little bit tough to match all those wires.
This is just the engine harness. So my problem is what you find is like, hey, is this white with an orange strip, or is that red? Is that green? Is this, what color is that? I found a whole nother truck that had frame rust, and I parted it all of it out, and now I've got the dash, I've got the full wiring harness. So all of this actually sitting here is actually Tacoma, 2001 Tacoma wiring harness that I'm retrofitting into a 1993. This is called the coin-operated crawler because anybody who's ever done any kind of off-roading knows that in order to keep off-roading, you gotta keep putting all the money in it. Just
all the money.
All the monies.
Especially when you have components like these. I mean, these are not inexpensive components by any means.
Yeah, I think that RAM alone is like 500 bucks.
Yeah, and you know,
I mean, rod ends, like just this and this is like, you know.
This thing is super sweet though. I can't wait to see it back on the trail again.
My problem is, this is its third iteration of suspension.
It's okay.
And it's gotten to the point where I'd rather not wheel it until it's exactly how I want it.
Well, hey, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming out, showing us around Gladstone. I'm gonna let this guy get back to work. If you guys want anything done, holler at Jake. He does awesome work. I can't wait to come up here with Apple. We're gonna do some work on the bumpers and sliders.
Probably some sliders, yeah.
We definitely need sliders. I hear you folks telling me all the time that I need sliders. My subscriber base is they've been adamantly telling me that I need sliders for years. Nobody sent any or contributed to the fund to get any, but they understand the need for sliders.
Hey,
and I get it. But at least I don't have any light bars before the sliders.
Yeah.
So
just remember, folks, lights before lockers, okay?
Peace.
She truly is a party barge.
What's the craziest party you've been at with Large Marge?
Well, it wasn't so much Marge, but my friend Molly was there.